checkered finish. Pace car down and in. Green flag flies with 2 laps to go, and Mullis has got the jump he needs. Winner in 2018, winner in 2020, and dominating late in this one. Jimmy Mullis gonna get his 3rd straight New Hampshire win. New Hampshire belongs to Jimmy Mullis.
Series by Coca-Cola. My name's Amy Long. I'm joined by our excellent panel of drivers. We've got Michael Guerrilla, Chris Overland, and Brandon Cattell joining us. You just had a peek at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the round 12. Just a little bit of a recap. Guys, let's talk a little bit about round 12. Chris, not many races left to prove these drivers to prove that they deserve to be in the playoffs. Your takeaways from New Hampshire?
Well, first takeaway, I'm going to say real quick, Cattell, Michael, how about our boy Jake Nichols with the P2? That's pretty impressive. But for the rest of the field, it's desperation time. Steven Wilson, Michael Guest, those guys have had fantastic years in those Fords, and unfortunately, they don't have the wins, and right now all 3 of them are out. Graham Bolin, 2nd most points scored on the season right now, and he doesn't have a playoff berth. It's definitely time getting down to these last 2 races. If any of those 3 are going to steal or spoil the party, they got to get a win in these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. It is crunch time for the top 10. Michael, your takeaways.
My biggest takeaway from New Hampshire was just the fact that with Jimmy Mullis' win, we've now filled out our top 10 playoffs that are inside the top 20. I mean, that sets the entire field as it stands right now, and that pushes him well above the top 20 cutoff. And I mean, you think back to Ray Alfalla, who won at Charlotte Motor Speedway earlier this year. He's still sitting outside that top 20 cut. You look at this graphic right here. The biggest thing is these 3 highlighted names. Chris already mentioned it. Graham Bolin, who's 2nd in the point standings, does not have a win yet. Chris Shearburn, he won back at Kansas, but he's fallen dangerously close towards that top 20 cutoff where you need to stay above to stay inside for the playoffs. So he's looking very dire to come down to the final 2 races of the regular season. And Ray has to do a miracle to get his way into the playoffs. He has to get above that top 20 cut. And with a road course tonight, Ray and Chris aren't really doing that great so far throughout the season. So if their form continues, it's not going to be great.
Yes, and Brandon, your thoughts on Jimmy Mullis' repeat last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Enough talk about consistency, enough talk about who's in or who's out. Let's talk about the winners right now. Jimmy Mullis and Mitchell DeYoung, they are peaking at the right time. Your most recent winners. We're going into another road course tonight, so that could be very well for Mitchell DeYoung tonight. But let's talk about Jimmy Mullis, who also won the All-Star race last week out. So we have 2 guys who are very hot right now, who can most certainly get the job done here tonight at Watkins Glen.
Yes, and not many races left to prove who needs to be in the playoffs. Here are the playoff standings as they lie. Michael and Brandon, your thoughts here?
You know, my biggest takeaway from the point standings, as we see, or the Drivers' Championship, is Vicente Salas and Bob Bryant. While they haven't been the most flashiest drivers throughout the year so far, they've been quietly working their way inside the top 10 in the standings. I mean, Vicente's finished in the top 15 4 of his last 5 races, including 2 road course finishes of 15th at COTA and 7th at Road America. Bob has yet to finish worse than 22nd since his win at Auto Club back in round 5. So consistency has been key for that Clearman Sport driver.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Mike. Bob has definitely picked up the pace this year. Really cool to see him run up front and have some consistent runs. But I'm watching Chris Shearburn. We were just talking about him in that little playoff standings segment that we showed, or team. But Chris Shearburn, he is definitely on the bubble right now, guys. And if he has a bad finish tonight, it could be detrimental for him. And we're going to look at the team standings here. Chris, Michael, what do you guys think about this?
I think that the 23-11, I mean, it goes without saying they've just been the dominant force all year. And I've been saying it over and over again that if Keegan Leahy and Mitchell DeYoung finish where they should, they're going to run away with this thing. But how about Stewart-Haas Racing? They weren't even on the front page of this graphic like 6 weeks ago, and now they're sitting in P2. So the volatility is high in these team standings, and there's a lot of money on the line for it.
Yeah, the volatility is high, Chris. And I mean, you look at the point standings, 3rd through 5th have separated by only 6 points. So anything can change there. And I'm looking towards that middle of the road once again with Letarte Esports and Kligerman Sport. I mean, Letarte, he's had some good finishes with Bobby Zielinski, 2 podium finishes in his last 3 races. Chris Shearburn needs a little bit more consistency, but both of them are still a threat for the playoffs. Kligerman Sport, Bob Bryant, like I said, he's been the model of consistency. And Anthony Burroughs has put himself together 2 top 20 finishes recently. So even though he's new, he's getting his footing.
Yeah, and all the excitement is not just on the track. We had some exciting news today breaking. Logitech G announcing today that it's become the official partner of eNASCAR, with Logitech G23 becoming the official wheel and pedal of eNASCAR, Coca-Cola's the iRacing series. Logitech G hopes that the partnership will upgrade the driving and fan experience for the remainder of the 21 season. And as part of the collaboration with the eNASCAR, Logitech G will also serve as the entitlement sponsor for eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series event, now called the Logitech G Challenge 100 at the virtual Michigan International Speedway on August 17th. To talk more about the partnership and joining us now live here on Countdown to Green, Jim Hoey, global head of the G Challenge. How are you this evening, Jim?
Good, Amy. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. Tell us a little bit more about this new partnership and why it's important to Logitech.
Yeah, so today we announced the official wheel and pedal of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Not many people know, but we have a history of over 23 years designing and manufacturing wheels. We've been a big supporter of the sim racing community for a long period of time, and the partnership with eNASCAR allows us to deliver our own amateur stock car competition called G Challenge that anybody can participate in. It also allows us to take a deeper dive into the world of motorsports and work collaboratively and bring more innovative technology like True Force to deliver the most realistic and thrilling on-track experience. One area that we continually see expanding is that virtual to real transition. Young and even professional drivers are using sim as a training tool, and we want to be there to help shepherd that next generation of drivers through our partnerships and our products.
Absolutely. And from what I understand, the next eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing event in Michigan is going to be all Logitech G. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And I've also heard some leaked rumors on some special guests. You got any clearing up there for us?
I guess we might as well let the cat out of the bag. William Byron will also be in attendance talking about the Logitech G100 and the new titled for the Michigan International Speedway. So we're excited to see how that event turns out. We're excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, William's background being in iRacing, a big supporter of all of this. So it will be really exciting to have him a part of this series as well, and glad to have this partnership happening. We've got some exciting things to look forward to.
Same. Thank you. And we're super excited for this to only be the beginning.
Only the beginning. I like the sound of it. Thanks so much for joining us here on Countdown to Green. All right, tonight we're headed upstate to New York for another road course of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series at the virtual Watkins Glen International. But first, let's not forget the All-Star Race. Last Tuesday, the Stars were out in Nashville for the All-Star Race, and after a hectic battle for a final few laps, Jimmy Mullis passed Corey Vincent for the win and a $3,500 paycheck. I almost cut him short a couple of dollars, cut him short some change, but Jimmy Mullis, your All-Star champion, take a look.
The world's best come together to clash for $5,000 in the Music City. Welcome to the 2021 eNASCAR iRacing All-Star Race.
We see the best of the best for a $5,000 purse.
Yeah, we're going to go 40 laps in this heat race. The feature is going to be 60.
Ray Alfalla qualified 10th. The inverts got him on beat. He takes DeYoung with him, and also at Bosky. Ray Alfalla has been swallowed up by this pack. He is working hard.
Back a little bit. There's a lot of cars behind me, but we're starting to run them down. We'll see if we can get them out together.
Smoke in a slider, not a spinner. What a save for Ryan Luza. It's Graham Bolin who breaks free at a turn 4, 3 wide for second. Bolin steals and he's got a good spot as he'll be on pole for the feature. gotten through the heat. It is time to race with money on the line. Green flag flies. We're back under.
There's the competition caution. The first one this evening, Evan, flies at lap.
Trying to work the strat a little bit. We'll see how this plays out. I think it'll be an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, differing strategies. I'm intrigued by this.
Right foot down, green flag in the air. Huge wreck off of turn 4. There are no caution flags for incidents. And up front, Mullis wants to go all the way to the race lead underneath the 10 car of Bolin. Does Novak make it 3 wide? No, stays loyal to his teammate for now. Things are ramping up towards the front of the field. 3 wide, back here in a battle for 4th spot. Coming to the competition caution. They are all over each other for the lead. 3 wide to lap traffic at the stripe on the inside. Casey Kerwin wins lap 44. Keegan Leahy does indeed win the race off pit road. Bob Bryant, so he neglects to pit.
I don't know, we're either going to look really stupid or really smart. We'll see.
For the final time tonight, 11 laps to go.
Oh boy, boosts around Casey Kerwin into the wall.
Oh, but he gets real tight that time. Drives Mullis to the fence. It's Vincent to the inside. 3 wide for second. The 46 pushes and Cattell's into the outside wall. Here comes Vincent with a full head of steam down the back straightaway. Corey Vincent to the race lead at lap number 56. Mullis low, Vincent high. Last lap and they touch. Vincent gets into him. He bobbles and gets into the fence.
Down the back straightaway for the final time. Jimmy Mullis has the advantage. Does anybody have anything left for the 46?
Leads off at turn 4. And Jimmy Mullis, an all-star champion.
How about our boy Brandon putting on the show for the fans, man?
Hey,
you still got it, buddy.
2 tires almost got me a win, guys. It almost got me $3,500.
Yeah, well,
you
let's
were
almost
fighting
get
for
you. We almost made it back to the series last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Dude,
But-
how was it racing in that race? I mean, these guys are super competitive. I mean, you were up there with them.
I got to tell you, Mike, it's a pleasure to race with those guys anytime you get to do it. I know you guys got to last year, but it is such a pleasure. Everybody's they're clean drivers for the most part, except for Graham Bolin wrecking me there. I was kidding.
Oh, wait.
But
No.
Look at Jimmy Mullis with the win there, proving that he can win the Gen 6 or Gen 7. It does not matter. The man, he's on a hot streak. He could possibly do it again tonight.
He wins a lot of those big events, too. We should start
He
calling
really
him
does.
big money
Yes, he
Mullis.
does, man.
Big money Mullis, I like it.
Yeah, and I want to give major props to whoever cut that package because that brought the excitement of the All-Star race tenfold. That was amazing. Great job, Brandon. It was fun watching you. Glad you got some sound bites in there too. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to put a smile on my face to see that number 80 car knocking the fence down.
All right. Well, tonight's Grand Marshal pioneered how drivers and spectators enjoy iRacing. Before his command duties, he's taken a moment to talk with us here at Countdown to Green. Welcome Senior Vice President and Executive Producer at iRacing, Greg Hill. Greg, thanks so much for being here. We hear you're stepping into a new and exciting role at iRacing. Is this true?
That's right. Yeah. So what that entails is essentially it's my job to facilitate development efforts at the company, work with the developers and the artists and also the business people and the marketing people and kind of bridge that gap and make sure that the needs of the company are taken care of in terms of the projects we're working on, but then also work with the developers, the engineers, the artists to actually further those projects along, make sure that everybody has what they need to be successful and help them with the design and implementation of all the cool stuff that we're hoping to release in the coming months and years. And we've got a great team to do it. So I'm really excited to be working with everybody in this role for sure.
Yeah, we look forward to all of the cool stuff. Hickory Motor Speedway was just teased as a new track coming to the sim. What is the process of getting a track onto the sim?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, with any racetrack, the fundamental first step is reaching out to that track and forming a relationship and getting a contract signed. And that often takes a lot of trust both ways. But with Hickory, we had a huge kind of ace in our sleeve. We had a great advocate for the product, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he actually handled the contract for Hickory, and he reached out to the track and expressed to them that we were really interested in having the track in iRacing, and it was tremendous to have his assistance. From there, once the contract is done, the next step is to collect the reference. So by reference, I mean photographs, and in the case of iRacing, laser scans, because we laser scan all of our racetracks. So we sent our crew out, our laser scan crew. There's a photographer, laser scan operator, oftentimes multiples of each, depending on the scale of the project, and perform the laser scan. And that takes a day or two for a track like Hickory. It can take a lot longer for a track, let's say, like the Nordschleife on the extreme end. But Hickory was a couple days job. The team then brings that reference back in-house. It's processed, and our track building tools are designed to work with laser scans quickly and efficiently. So we do our track modeling, and really within a short period of time, we're able to drive it. But of course, there's no artwork. So the next phase is the artists will jump in and they'll create the buildings, the grandstands, all the advertisements, and really make it look like the real world location. So when you're driving in the sim, or if you're driving in the real world, hopefully they're really close together, and it feels very authentic and real to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's always pretty spot on. And I know that you guys, the art team, does a phenomenal job filling in the blanks. Rumor has it that an updated Watkins Glen is in the works. Is the rumor true?
Absolutely. So Watkins Glen, we have Watkins Glen in the sim now, as everybody knows, but it's gotten out of date. The curbs have been updated in the real world, runoffs, and that's never ideal. And it's been a project we've wanted to redo and make current for a while now. Well, fortunately, we had the opportunity to do that this year. We went out and scanned it, and we've been working on recreating the 3D shape of the racetrack for the last several months. And it's actually going to be, I mean, a complete overhaul. So we're going to have the new accurate racetrack. We're going to have updated artwork so that the track looks just as good as any one of our newest tracks. And our goal is to get that out later this year.
Absolutely phenomenal. Really looking forward to seeing the finished product. Thanks so much, Senior Vice President and Executive Producer of iRacing, Greg Hill. Enjoy those command duties. Here at Countdown to Green, we asked and you delivered. I would love seeing all of the drivers out there showing off their sim rigs at home. This segment is brought to you by Logitech. Here's a look at more of those sim rigs for the archives. All right, guys, let's hear what you think about some of these sim rigs.
Well, here we go.
Well,
Standard
okay.
triple monitor.
Before we say anything here, most importantly, the fan is right by the sim rig. You always need a fan.
That's the most important thing. Yeah.
Honestly, not even a joke. It gets so hot.
Only if you're trying really hard, absolutely. If you're gonna win, it's gonna get real hot.
Ooh,
Robert Yost Jr.
Look at all the memorabilia up on the walls.
I'm a big fan of the white sim seat, but if you get 4 wide at Talladega or something like that, you might have to.
Stop it. Stop it. Yeah, that looks great. I love all the memorabilia. We got a collector.
Did he racer? He's got those helmets down there.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, the Ferrari flag.
He's up off the ground.
Dude, look, the monitor is adjacent of the way he's sitting. Look at the monitor way up there.
Using VR and you're that high off the ground, that's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
Be careful, Mike.
Yeah.
One crash.
He's got a separate wheel down there too.
It's Chad.
Devin
Canals. This is cool.
Is that a Martinsville clock in the background there?
It is. I think it is. And you notice he's got Charlotte up on the track there. He ran the 4 hours this week of Charlotte.
We just got flexed on by Chad Canals.
That is super cool.
Yeah, send all the angles. Kyle Bookmiller.
Whoa.
All right, Kyle. All right.
I don't even know. Are those is it a bunch of trophies back there?
I think it is.
So.
There, yeah.
I wish I could be that successful.
He's got like
Good
the
on you,
quarter
Kyle.
midget sprint car roll cage looking going there. It looks like a Daytona USA sim kind of sort of.
Yeah, you got to stay safe.
Yeah.
Have to stay safe. Absolutely. That's a great looking one. Thanks, Kyle.
Oh,
Got the green lights in the background.
That is a big monitor.
Dude, he's a streamer. He's got that program open up on that second monitor. He knows what he's doing with that.
Is that a phone app on his wheel?
Oh, yeah.
People are so innovative, man.
This is dedication right here.
Yeah. He's even got a little ramp for the pedals, too. Do you see that?
I didn't see that, but I do see some RGB.
Oh, colors.
RGB adds 10 horsepower no matter what. It doesn't matter if your wheel is mounted to a desk or if you have single monitors or triples. If you got RGB, you can qualify on the pole.
Dude, you know what? That desk is holding up strong for how little that thing is.
Absolutely. Yeah. This just goes to show you too, you can race anywhere, any kind. You don't need to have the top of the top. I mean, it's a lot of fun seeing how people. Whoa!
And then on the other hand, you can also be top of the top.
Here.
Yeah.
Star Wars fan?
Yeah, look at the background.
Awesome. Is that Blake Reynolds?
Oh yeah, there's Darth Vader there on
cool.
the ground.
Look at him on the floor underneath the seat. That's kind of cool with the lights and all that. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Nice in action.
Oh, Bernard.
Bernie.
Yes, good old Bernard.
Man,
look at
all those footballs in the background.
Yeah.
Talk about one of the most passionate sim racers of all time. I see his tweets about getting wrecked in like 8 split trucks, and I, man, I remember the days. I feel for him.
I love it. I love this picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we've got more than 8 footballs on the wall there. Thanks so much, everyone who shared. Share your sim rigs too by tweeting us a picture using the hashtag eNASCAR and tagging iRacing and NASCAR. Can't wait to see those. We're going to show them off on the next show as well. Thanks so much to Logitech. Tonight, round 13 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series takes on the twists, turns, and elevations of the Glen in beautiful Watkins Glen, New York. We turn to Michael Guerrilla for a track analysis.
Thank you, Amy. We are coming to virtual Watkins Glen International Raceway for tonight's event for round 13 in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing season. It's a track. I mean, think about it, 2.45 miles in length. There's a lot of twists and turns along this track, and even though it only says 7 turns, there's a lot of technicalities amongst those 7 turns. Since the entity, it was started to utilize the short course, which is this layout, the cut course configuration we're running in 1971. You look at the elevation changes as the day coming through the bus stop, and the lowest points going through turns 1. So, I mean, there's a lot of elevation change when it comes down to it, and being able to have a car set up to take on those challenges of the elevator. So now we're going to take you around Watkins Glen on a lap in the NASCAR Monster Cup Series. So you're coming down through the turn 1, and you see you got this nice heavy braking zone, one of 3 to go side by side. We're coming down through turn 1. You got to make sure you get that momentum off the rumble strip, so that way you get a nice run down into the S's, one of the most technical parts on the circuit to keep speed through as long as you stay pinned to those curbs on each side. It's very narrow at the top, so you don't want to be side by side through there. You're coming down through the S's down into the chicane, known as the inner loop. You see the heavy braking zone, all the tire tracks coming into the chicane. You go right, left. Got to stay nip and tuck on those curbs on the inside and outside of the side of the carousel. This one's a long, winding right-hand corner. It is key to stay to that yellow line to keep the momentum off the corner. Carry that speed down in other shorts, which are super technical, and you got to keep it on the track here, because as you're coming down to this left-hander, you want to stay pinned nice and tight to that curb. Otherwise, you're going to run all the way out onto the rumble strip and into that gravel pit, and that's not going to be no fun. Then you're coming into this last start, finish straight, and that's a lap around Watkins Glen International Raceway. And guys, it's going to be a fun one tonight.
Wow. Great job.
I know.
Spoken like a true road course ringer.
That ride-along was awesome. We should do those way more often. Thanks so much, Michael. So we are looking forward to the excitement of round 13. So let's get a pick from our panel of drivers. Brandon, you were at a 55-point deficit. You seem to know what's going on and how it's shaken out now. We're going to start with you. Who do you think is taking the checkers?
Well, since I'm leaving these guys in the dust now,
No.
The driver that I'm picking tonight, he talked to me last week. He said, man, you keep picking me. I keep doing good. Michael Conti, I'm going to pick him again. He's won here in 2014. He's going to win tonight at Watkins Glen.
You know, that's really funny that you mentioned that, Brandon, because we don't get a lot of time to make these picks, and we don't know them beforehand. I said Michael Conti was going to be my pick, and I changed it at the last second, the last possible second. Vicente Salas is getting the job done tonight. He is absolutely. Oh, they're telling me that they didn't change it, so we might end up. We got a technicality here. I'm throwing the challenge flag.
With what you got,
we might
man.
also have Michael Conti. Unbelievable.
Producer says you're too late.
It's a technicality. Me and Cattell got the same guy. Awesome. Well,
That's
Vicente,
great.
if you win tonight, I'm taking the points.
Now, you know what? That means I get a chance to come back. And I think my guy is going to do the clean sweep of the road courses this year, and it's going to be Mitchell DeYoung. He's been so fast on these road courses, even with Bobby Zielinski having issues, and even having a clean car. He hasn't been able to keep match with Mitchell DeYoung. So it's really important to have him there. But in an interesting twist, Graham Boland is going to be starting on pole. So it's going to be interesting considering the fact that he's one of those drivers that's up in the point standings that doesn't have a win. So it could be a difference maker, but I think Mitchell DeYoung is going to come out on top.
I'm changing my pick again. I'm picking Graham Boland. Graham Boland is my pick.
Wow.
I see what you're doing there, Mike.
Absolutely amazing. Thanks so much, guys. It's fun with you as always. Remember, tweet us a picture of your rig. We want to show them off during the next show. Everyone behind the camera, Brandon Cattell, Chris Overland, Michael Guerrilla. My name's Amy Long. Thanks so much for joining us here on Countdown to Green. Fans, get ready. Round 13 of the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing season is coming at you now.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there.
I am chaos in a good way. I am everything you want to see at once. Coming at you like a comet on fire. I am bumping, banging, and battling to the finish.
It is all on the line.
Because if you can conquer this series, you can conquer anything.
That was some intense racing.
I am the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. I am NASCAR.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. We're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
Watkins Glen, New York. The oldest road course on the calendar. After World War II, they held the first motor race in the U.S. right here. And the last time we were here was 5 years ago.
He'll take a shot to 57. We'll send Michael Conti off. Conti put into the tires.
Huh. The more things change. With 2 races to go, we have 11 winners, but only 10 spots. July has been the month of mullis. But the road courses belong to DeYoung. So who can tame the Glen?
The road to $300,000 speeds through the rolling vineyards of New York's Finger Lakes region, where tonight from virtual Watkins Glen International, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 13 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We're happy to have you with us for road course race number 3 and the second last race of the regular season. Alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, so happy to be joined once again by Steve Letarte in the iRacing broadcast booth. Steve, thanks so much for doing this again. We have an incredible battle to the end of the regular season, a critical stepping stone tonight.
Yeah, it's a huge point of the season. Only 2 races remain to set the playoff field, and it's anything but straightforward. 11 different winners, 10 advance, a couple too close to that 20-point cutoff or 20th place position of points cutoff. So there's a lot on the line when we head to Watkins Glen today.
And anything but straightforward with Watkins Glen, a twisty, tricky challenge tonight for the third road course race of the year. It's more than we've ever seen in the history of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. None in the playoffs. So the obvious storyline, you heard it on Countdown to Green, is the Mitchell DeYoung show, right? Winner of the last two. Maybe a big opportunity for him to get a third win of the year tonight, but it's the last road course race of the year. Do we see a surprise winner, or can he go 3 for 3?
Well, I think there's an opportunity for a surprise winner. It's all going to come down to turn one. We've seen this time and time again. No yellow flags here at the road course. So you have to be aggressive early. If you somehow make it through turn one, then it's the climb up the S's, which looks simple. It's anything but. That last S, turn 4, wide open, very narrow, easy mistakes. And if a mistake is made in the S's, it could gain a lot of cars in the accident. So it's going to be interesting to watch lap 1.
For the first time in 5 years, we're going to say let's go racing from Watkins Glen. Before we do so, let's go trackside. Hand things back off to today's Grand Marshal, iRacing Senior VP and Executive Producer Greg Hill for the most famous words in motorsports.
All right, everybody. Well, I'm really excited for the race tonight. I'm wishing all the competitors the best of luck. And of course, we can't start any race without the famous drivers. Start your engines.
And on pole position, how about this? Graham Bolin besting the two-time road course race winner this year by side in that tricky run down to turn number 1. Multi-time road course winner Bobby Zelensky on road number 2 with Stephen Wilson in the number 17 machine. Former Watkins Glen winner Nick Ottinger alongside Vicente Salas in the number 6 spot with Logan Clampett and Keegan Leahy on road number 4. Garrett Maines and Ryan Luza are our top 10.
Corey Vincent back there in the 6th row. As we get farther back, we talk about this first lap. It's going to be very difficult. Blake Reynolds, Ashton Crowder, you're going to have to try to gain position, but it's kind of aggression versus patience. Jimmy Mullis on a hot streak lately. Can it continue at the road course? He'll start next to Garrett Lowe.
He wants Jimmy July to continue into August. He has been so good and has a little bit of work to do midfield there with Dylan Duvall. So this is where all that chaos is going to be. Kerwin Abusa through your top 20. Then you got another previous winner here in Michael Conti, a pick from a lot of our analysts in Countdown to Green. He's got some work to do from 21st, a big points night win with work to do from 22nd. Nichols and Shearburn and rookie Anthony Burrows. These drivers going to be in the chaos tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think for these guys, it's all about just a clean lap. You look at Bob Bryan all the way back at row 14, Brad Davies back in row 15. You know, you're not going to make up 5 or 10 spots on the first lap, but you can easily give them up. For these guys, it's all about opportunity. Maybe be a little conservative, try to get cleanly through this first lap.
And that's a look through row number 18 at the back of the field. A couple of provisionals to the likes Justice Cook and Schoenberg at the rear. 39 cars ready to roll here from Watkins Glen. Of course, the story is Mitchell DeYoung, a race winner at COTA, a race winner at Road America. But we talked about some critical championship implications. This could be a big night for the driver of the number 10 Ford of Graham Bolin, one of the highest drivers in the points without a win. Steve, and you are dialed up with the driver of the number 10 car.
All right, Graham, an impressive lap in qualifying. We know you've put a ton of work in. What's the plan here? Get off to a clean start?
I mean, it's to get off to a clean start and hopefully keep the lead. Mitchell is really strong, but I know my pace is strong, so let's see how it stacks up versus them.
All right, man. Well, good luck. We'll be watching.
All right, thank you.
We've talked so much about the interesting point situation. Graham comes into this evening 12th in the playoff standings. If you take out winning you're in, he's second. So race wins have been critical. 11 different race winners over the course of the 12 races so far this year. Lights out on top of the pace car. It's kind of a marathon and a sprint all in one tonight, Steve. A 50-lap race here at Watkins Glen. It's going to be short on the stopwatch, but it's certainly going to be a long challenge from behind the wheel. Tell us a little bit more with our ASUS race analysis.
Well, it's the super speedway of road courses. Watkins Glen, without a doubt, the highest speed road course on the circuit. 50 laps, a little over 120 miles. Pit road speed, 45 miles per hour. It takes 22 seconds to head down pit road, plus a pit stop. There's 3 sets of tires available. Fuel window, 26 to 29 laps. I expect the majority of the field to pit a couple times, but the leader, I don't believe he's going to give up clean air or clean track. He's going to probably only pit once and try to keep it heading straight and off the curbs.
We're going to be talking about points a lot this evening. Right-hand side of your screen, a live look at the championship standings. Of course, the red line below position 10 is the playoff cut. And with 11 winners and 10 positions in the playoffs, we now know a race winner here in 2021 not going to make the show. But it's not that simple. There are drivers like Bolin, Wilson, Guest, Vincent, Kerwin outside of the top 10, Steve, that are higher in the normal points than race winners. So if any of those guys win, it could bump people. Live points going to be big tonight.
I will say, though, Evan, I'm a big fan of the win and you're in. It matches what we see on Saturdays and Sundays in the Xfinity and the Cup Series. I think racing should be all about winning. I love that the winning gives you a berth, and that's where the pressure is. But I also like the fact that we're going to limit it to 10. I think that's better than the 16 we see on Sundays in the Cup Series because the pressure's on. It's not win and guaranteed in. It's must win to make it in. I mean, Chris Sherburne back there in 19th in points, trying to stay in the top 20. And I think a little worried that somebody else could go to victory lane, and next thing you know, he's eliminated from the playoffs.
He may be a Mitchell DeYoung fan in this race. A lot could happen. It is the second to last race of the regular season and of the regular season finale in 2 weeks from Michigan. The pace car going to dive down to pit road this time. The field in the hands of the number 10 of Graham Boland as we say, let's go racing from Watkins Glen.
Great start by the number 10, but right here you see 2, 3, 4 wide deep in the pack.
Oh, that was Novak who went 4 wide, but I think they're going to survive. A lot of use of the runoff. Look at the battle for the race lead. Zelensky going to go underneath Graham Boland and side by side through the S's.
Yeah, Zelensky not in the right position for the left-hander, but now he is in position for turn 4, the top of the S's. He should get a great run down this back straightaway. Now it's a heavy braking, the highest speed area into the bus stop right here. Who will give?
Looked like a game of chicken there. Zelensky had the inside. You don't want to go too wide into it through the carousel. He is all over the back of your race leader. Wilson gets a touch. And Mitchell DeYoung, an awful opening lap. As you can see, the 67 behind is off track. That's Alan Bose. But Mitchell DeYoung started for the outside of the front row. He drops to P6 early in this race. And Graham Boland survived a critical lap number 1, about a half a car length advantage over Zelensky now second. Wilson up to third, and we are side by side for 4th position. Vicente Salas fighting with Nick Ottinger. Ottinger, a previous race winner here at Watkins Glen back in 2015, but he's got a challenge. 3 wide to turn 1 as DeYoung comes up the inside.
DeYoung knows he has to make up ground if Boland is unable to hold off Zelensky, and Zelensky gets out into clean air. He's proven with his multiple road course wins, he's probably the biggest challenge to DeYoung, as now 2 wide through the S's, very dangerous.
And they're going to lean on each other. Not a place that I'd want to go 2 wide on at lap number 2 at 50, but they make it work. You got a couple of battles as Ottinger and DeYoung a touch up the road. Then Salas and Clampett side by side of the bus stop. In front of them, they'll single file it out. Back here, they won't. Tough squeeze. But to their credit, both drivers gave each other the room. Clampett a little bit too loose off, gives Salas the spot, but even he is all over the curbs down in this carousel. Very hard to point and shoot this car off the hill. And right there, Steve, quarter exit. Nowadays at Watkins Glen, you've got tons of pavement in a runoff there to work with. Not here on the sim with this scan, so these drivers much more restricted. You can't be getting those tires off and in the grass.
I like it better. This is old school racing. It had to be paved for the current racetrack. It eliminates yellows. It keeps the flow of the race, but this is how the track was intended. Inside the curbs, none of that crazy runoff to drivers left or right, depending on the corner.
So a little bit of separation ahead of Salas in P6. Look at the big line of cars behind him. Some side-by-side for the back. I think I saw Blake Reynolds in his McLaren Shadow 66 sticking it out to the inside. But your top 5 ahead of this battle for P6 on back have actually started to get just a little bit of space at lap number 3 of this race. Graham Boland still leading from the start, and we've seen such excited racing. If you want to take a turn and drive a NASCAR Cup Series car here at Watkins Glen or anywhere else, now is the time to do it, because with iRacing, every day is race day. For more information on how to start your sim racing career, visit iRacing.com today to learn more information. No caution flags in this race. Tim Terry, the 3rd member of our broadcast team, is down on pit road. Tim, expected maybe only 1 trip down to you this evening, but what are you hearing so far?
Well, we're hearing that pit window is going to maybe fluctuate just a little bit, Evan. They can go 30 to 32-ish laps, as we saw in the Jesus race analysis. We might see a couple of these drivers in the back short pit. But the 55 of Vicente Salas, they were talking about trying to get the rear end to settle down, especially trying to hustle it around these corners, frustrated with the way the restart or the start of this race went. And he's also working with the new spotter, Donovan Strauss. He knows a thing or two about hustling these cup cars around. So should be a combination to watch here this evening as they try to work forward here at Watkins Glen.
I was going to say this is a mid-pack battle, but it's not. It's just on the cusp of the top 10. Mike Conti has been making some moves. Started 21st, but he is already up to position number 13 and wants another one. You're on board with his number 8 Chevrolet, chasing down Dylan Duval on the back straightaway to the bus stop. So Conti a race best +8. One of the biggest movers in the field early in this one. You'll get underneath the number 41 machine, and then we go back down through that tricky carousel, turn number 5. Off of the bus stop, and he'll get another position gained. Up front, though, no separation for Graham Boland. I mean, he is under fire by Bobby Zielinski, Steve. And you mentioned that Watkins Glen is kind of the super speedway of these road course races. I know Bobby mentioned earlier on Twitter, as we look off of the back of your leader, it's the least technical of the road course races. We've been to COTA, and we've been to Road America so far this year in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. What is it about Watkins Glen that makes it so different than those tracks?
Well, I think when it comes to Watkins Glen, two things. First of all, it's been on the NASCAR circuit for so long that anyone that has any sort of stock car experience has run races at Watkins Glen. The other thing is there's really not a lot of corners when you look at the length of the racetrack. A lot of it is high-speed areas. There is a longer version of Watkins Glen that takes the boot into play. We see that when we see the sports cars come here. But this is probably the most technical section right here, the bus stop. The quick right, back to the left, and now back to the right, down in the carousel. And other than that, every corner basically 90 degrees or less. So a real rhythm type racetrack. I think that the oval experience, stock car experience, translates the easiest to Watkins Glen. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. It's just perhaps a little less technical than some of the other tracks. Although you see Bobby Zielinski, this is impressive out of Boland. I knew he was going to have speed in qualifying. We heard the rumors about all the effort he's put in, but I didn't know if he could hold up under the pressure, under a half a second lead, and doing a great job 5 laps in.
Yeah, Zielinski, a 6-time road course winner, keeping him honest, but in the mid-pack here is where a lot of that movement has been. I talked about Conti up a spot, Duval, somebody else who's been able to get around this man, Blake Reynolds, who I think I mentioned about a lap or two ago, was making some dives down into turn number 1. For the most part, they have been minding their P's and Q's just ahead of Jimmy Mullis. I mentioned a race winner in the points race at New Hampshire a couple of weeks back now. A race winner with 3 straight races there. The All-Star winner as well. But up on top, a battle further up the field. Logan Climpett is under fire by Vicente Salas. You got Garrett Maines in the mix. Ryan Luza not that far off. But consistently, it appears that most everybody's afraid to go too wide into that bus stop. So the 55 will let the spot go for now. And he'll try it again. Try to set this up as we run on board with Garrett Maines.
Yeah, Garrett in the 8th position, looking out front to Salas in front of him. Salas was very high off the too wide to the bus stop. That is a great decision by these drivers. That never seems to end well. This left-hander right here, very important because it leads to this tricky right-hander, very easy to overshoot. And now you have to have a great run down this front stretch because it's hard to defend. Be braking zone downhill. I assume most of these drivers going all the way down to first gear.
And you can see some of them using varied amounts of that runoff. When we're single file, they get a little bit of the curb there, but you could see it in some of the battles, especially on the first lap. I mean, they went really wide, and it really tightens up when you get to the S's, which makes it so difficult. You can get a little bit later on the brakes if you're willing to use a bit of the runoff, but you're not necessarily set up as well for the next quarter, and you can lose out on your positioning. Not only is there not a lot of runoffs on this track, I mean, at a place like COTA, everything is paved for runoff. So you can go wide on the racetrack. Here we talk about all that grass. The grass isn't the only concern. Those barriers, the fences, are only about 5 feet off of the racetrack in any direction, so it's very unforgiving in multiple respects as we look back towards these top 4. Mitchell DeYoung in P4, trying to chase down Steven Wilson. Wilson, somebody else who is just outside of a playoff spot. A race win could do wonders for the 17 team. He's had a rough couple of weeks, but when you talk about Bobby Zielinski, Steve, was the king of the road courses for the longest time in this series, right? Set an all-time best 6 consecutive road course race wins, in which 4 of them he led every single lap in. But Mitchell DeYoung has had his number so far this season, and I can't help but feeling that that's got to irk him a little bit.
Well, I think it does frustrate him some. Fortunately, he was able to get that win at the Oval. But when you think about what he did in this series for the last couple of years, it was domination. And I really think the adjustment to the schedule is where someone like Mitchell showed up on the scene, right? When you look at Denny Hamlin Racing and that 23-11 group, they went out and they got a driver they knew was going to be hard to beat at the road courses with the addition at the road courses. Listen, I won't lie. Bobby Zielinski, new to Letarte Esport for that reason. When I looked at the schedule, I said, I have to have a driver that can compete at the road courses. We're seeing the same thing in real-life NASCAR. You look at some of these up-and-coming drivers. Austin Cindric comes to mind, getting his opportunity to drive at Team Penske. I have to think his road course prowess has got to make him look better for these owners when they look at the schedule.
And just because he hasn't had the wins on the road courses doesn't mean he hasn't been consistent. Zielinski tied with the most top 5s and top 10s of anybody in the series. And if we talk about points, Steve, this is an interesting car, that number 36 machine of Chris Shearbird and Ray Alfalla. We're taking a look at both of those drivers, bottom of the screen, because the point structure is weighted by wins and then it is weighted by points, but you need to be top 20 in the points for a race win to count. Into tonight, Chris Shearbird 19th in the points. If he were to fall to 21st and below, that race win would not count towards playoff eligibility. That would be good news for a Graham Bolin, but with Bolin leading anyways, it's a precarious spot for the 36 machine, Tim.
Yeah, and to add to Ray Alfalla on your screen right now, he's saying that it's hard to keep up, kind of struggling a little bit with the handle on that race car. Evan especially tight in the right-hander, so trying to work his way through traffic and also trying to keep those points in the back of the mind as well. And to add to those two, you got Bob Bryant back there as well, another winner trying to carve his way through the field and pad his cushion when it comes to points.
The big thing that changes all of this is Graham Bolin leading, because that'll bump everybody down a spot on the ladder. I can only think of the pressure we'll be under when we go to Michigan for that regular season finale in 2 weeks' time. But the objective for a Ray Alfalla or a Graham Bolin, Steve, who know coming into these road course races that it's not necessarily their strong suit, and they just want a run like this, right? Stay mid-pack, stay out of trouble, collect points, let's move on to Michigan. So they're doing exactly what they want to do, just stay out of trouble. Of course, that 10 car up front, the big interesting thing is behind them you see Michael Guest and some of the other drivers. Boost is sticking some noses out, but for Alfalla, Shearbird, the objective is a clean race and get some points.
Yeah, good look for that number 36. We welcome Mack Trucks on board for the first time. It's a good look at paint scheme. And his biggest fan right now is his teammate, Bobby Zielinski in second. He's cheering him on, I know, because that is really what you need to have. You mentioned it, Graham Bolin winning basically eliminates the 36 from the playoffs, where if Zielinski can somehow get in front of Bolin and take the win, or Mitchell for that matter, if second or fourth could do it, that would help the 36 along. As we see, it looks like off the pace and maybe some contact.
Yeah, an issue towards the back of the field. It's honestly been a pretty clean opening 10 laps of this race, but I mean, even up front here, you can see a little bit of damage on the back of Wilson. That spin towards the rear, so it hasn't been 100% tidy, but I think for the most part, with everybody on the lead lap besides Jake Matheson, pretty good start as Mitchell DeYoung is all over the back of Steven Wilson. Let's take a second look at what happened here with Nathan Lyon. This is where the incident comes from. It's going to be going up through the S's. You can see Femiol out on the door, one of the Wood Brothers entries up the road, and right there a little bit of a touch, and it's the 14 machine who ends up in the fence. That's Blade Witt on the exit of the S's as Mitchell DeYoung continues to put the heat on your third-placed runner, Steven Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson doing an amazing job. Just not making a mistake, running his line, not even running a defensive line. There's no reason to try to get aggressive and try to block with, 39 laps to go. He's just doing what he can do, the best he can do, and forces Mitchell in the 23 car right behind him to make the move, to try to outbreak him into the corner.
And put the onus on the car behind you. Don't open up the door. Make him work for it. Mitchell's not somebody, especially at a lap, number 11 in a 50-lap race, that's going to go through you to make the pass. So make him work for it. And maybe you could hold him up long enough for him to burn up some of his equipment. You can see further behind them, Nick Ottinger comfortably in the number 5 spot where he started this race. So a lot of Logitech representation inside of the top 5. But I was looking at lap times, and one lap at least up front, Boland's faster than Zelensky. The next lap, it's the other way around. I mean, these two could very well be within a second of each other all night long, and you can see the intervals on the left-hand side of your screen. Graham Boland, though, started on pole position. He is in control early from Watkins Glen. You're watching the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
I am a driver with a dream. And part of that dream is making all the doubters believe that my name belongs here. I may be new to some, but I am not to be taken lightly.
Oh, and now they're really going at it. Yeah, they are.
Because if you let your guard down, I will rise above. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I am NASCAR.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
And back live from Watkins Glen, coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And by DoorDash, proud sponsor of 2311 Racing. Race leaders working lap number 14 of 50 from virtual Watkins Glen, New York, round number 13 of this 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And this is still the battle for the race lead. 2 car lengths between race leader Graham Boland, who has led every lap thus far, and Bobby Zelensky. Not that far off. Wilson DeYoung still in contention. But already in the blink of an eye, almost halfway through this race, drivers started maybe to think about what the tire wear's like. Steve starting to strategize on when we're going to be on down pit road. And I got to wonder, with Graham Boland having the pressure put on by Zelensky like this, it may come down to, since they look so even on speed, it may come down to execution on the pit cycle when they decide to come in. We've seen a little bit over a second to fall off, so the actual lap on when they come down pit road, I guess I should say, could actually be very critical as we ride on board with our DoorDash on board camera. 2-time road course race winner this year, Mitchell DeYoung, P4.
Yeah.
Well, that's the onboard look with Mitchell DeYoung, who sits in 4th position. Steve, you talk about some of the other layouts here at Watkins Glen, all the other racing that happens here. To be quite honest about it, these NASCAR Cup Series cars aren't really made for a track like this, right? That's why it's so exciting to see these guys wheel these things around. As we rode on board there with Mitchell, one of the best in the business, he's got a lot of road course experience on the sim outside of just this eNASCAR series. Did you pick up on anything as he's played with the throttle, going through the gears, and trying to stay in touch with that 17?
Well, unfortunately, I picked up what I already knew, which is he is amazingly smooth. You see him down on the right-hand side of your screen, the focus on the steering. Wilson, very calm on the steering. I've been very impressed with Wilson. He has done a great job of not overdriving the important points of each corner. Right here, let's take a look as they go down into this left-hander. He'll actually overslow the car into the middle where he knows that DeYoung can't get around him. You'll see DeYoung close into his rear bumper kind of in the middle of the corner, but that gives the 17 a nice corner exit. He'll do the same thing here, overslow in the middle. The 23 seems to gain, but then it's to no avail because the 17 gets good acceleration off the corner. I'm going to tell you, Mitchell, he's going to have to decide if he's going to play offense or defense here pretty soon, because out the back of Mitchell DeYoung is Nick Ottinger, who's closed in from about 20 car lengths back to only be 2 car lengths off the 23.
It looks like Wilson and DeYoung are coming back to Ottinger a little bit. Ottinger 3.2 seconds off of the race lead. He's kind of held that interval, so I wonder if the battle between Wilson and DeYoung has had both of those drivers pushing it just a little bit and is going to allow the number 25 machine to kind of sneak up and into this conversation. Of course, we saw the next-gen cars used, Steve, at our All-Star race last week, and a big conversation in those was how, you're changing to a 5-gear, a sequential shifter instead of the H pattern. It's a big step for the NASCAR Cup Series guys to have a big change like that. Here in sim racing, drivers can change equipment like that week by week. So a lot of drivers may be using different shifters or different wheel and pedal sets for a road course race than they would on an oval race. Can't do that in real life, but on the sim, you do have that flexibility to really tailor your equipment to whatever you think is going to allow you to perform the best, which is really unique as well.
I can assure everyone, though, I've tried them all, and none of them seem to fit my lack of talent, because I can't seem to get any of them to work for me to look anything like these guys. As now we see some takers 18 laps in. We have a couple cars on pit road. It looks like the 55 of Salas and the 2 as well will join him on pit road. Garrett Maines.
Those are top 10 cars coming down pit road. You would think conventional wisdom, at least from my end, thinks if it's a one-stop race, you just kind of pit it halfway. But we did hear that the max on tires and fuel really is about 32 laps, and they pitted 18 laps into the race, 32 laps to go. So it is not a early pit stop, I don't think, intending on a 2-stop strategy. I think they're just going short on the beginning, Tim, and long on the end run.
For Vicente, though, it's the handle of the race car. That car is handling terrible for that team, and Vicente wanted to come in and make some changes to the race car, so that is why they called the audible to come down onto pit road a little bit earlier than what would conventionally be, Evan, and was listening to some of these radios, and Steven Wilson's been kind of quiet. You guys talked about him just a few moments ago, but they were chatting about the dirty air. It's something that we talk about a lot on the ovals with this low downforce package, but they're thinking that it might help them a little bit, keeping Mitchell DeYoung behind and eventually trying to track down these 2 in front.
Oh, I can assure you, Evan, this is an aerodynamic racetrack. I mean,
for sure.
The speed here makes such a difference. And what I will say is pitting early works as long as you come out in clean air. But we saw both of those cars rejoin the back of the pack as now we see the 32 of Leahy on pit road. It's all where you rejoin. And if you rejoin in traffic, pitting early is not an advantage, as now we see Sherburne on pit road as well.
That's a big car in the championship battle down pit road from the midfield. You're going to spend about 40 seconds total time on pit road, so keep that in mind if you're trying to strategize where you'll end up. Look at the top of your screen, though. A replay in the rundown to turn number 6, late break. I wonder if that was more of an evasive move than it was a dive to the inside. It looked like he got on the brakes, realized he was going to go through the 6, and then tried to kind of lessen the blow, but that was the 6 car in Nathan Lyon who got sent by Kane Cook. Both drivers recover. Of course, maybe a little bit of shades, as you saw in the pre-race video, that exciting finish from a couple of years back where Michael Conti got sent over the last lap, last corner bump from PJ Sturgis to win the 2016 win here at Watkins Glen. But Mitchell DeYoung is down pit road, and this will draw many more. Vincent Duval will follow him down, but Mitchell DeYoung with the first big strategy play as he pits from the number 4 spot.
I love this call by Mitchell right here. He was stuck behind the 17 of Wilson. Lap after lap after lap. You mentioned it. Not a lot of fall off in these tires, about a second or a second and a half, but one lap can be the difference. I think right now, though, the leaders have to kind of counterpoint. Right now, Bolin and Zielinski have to pit this lap. They have to be aware that Mitchell has come to pit road. He's proven his speed. You cannot get flipped on this pit strategy with the undercut. We see the 23 back on the racetrack. The question now, will the leaders hit pit road this time by, or will they continue on the racetrack?
Yeah, they have an option, right? They could make the reactionary call. Hey, Mitchell just pitted. I want to get in because for each passing lap, I'm going to be logging laps slower than him. Or you can stick to your guns. They want to react. So Bolin, having seen that, does give up the race lead. Bobby Zielinski, though, stays out. So Wilson's also in. Ottinger will stay out from fourth. So Bobby Zielinski is going to lead laps in an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series road course race for the first time since he won at the Charlotte Rollville back in 2020. So you have the drivers on the short, and he could easily go another 10 laps. Again, the question is, what are you feeling with the tires now? And it's funny, Vicente, who kind of kicked off the pit strategy, came in, said he didn't like how the car was driving. Still is the top 10 car, but some drivers may be adjusting their strategy based on how they feel in the car. Let's watch how this works. He's going to blend out on the inside. The pit service is complete. He's on the inside of turn number 1. There's Mitchell DeYoung, who has already pitted, is going to be at speed here. And as they go make the run, look from high above. He does have the speed advantage as they go up and through the S's. Graham Bolin, though, is going to lead out through and down the back straightaway. There he is up the road. The next car, that Go Bowling Ford number 10. So Bolin does make his pit stop and maintains the track position over Mitchell DeYoung. So I think that's all that 10 team could have asked for.
Yeah, but Evan, look at the time. He did lose to the 23. That has big concern for this 83 of Zielinski. I think this extra lap is going to really hurt his opportunity to win this race. He's on pit road now. We'll see when he leaves pit road, but that extra lap was still at about the 112.5 second range versus new tires of 111 flats. That's a second and a half by staying on the racetrack.
You know, it shakes out. We watch the battle in through the final corner. There is Graham Bolin, who is the lead car of those who have already pitted. And let's see as he cycles out. You can see Bobby Zielinski. He's still in that pit box on the right-hand side. Not a problem for the 10 team to get on through. Zielinski will get passed by not only Graham Bolin. I wonder if Zielinski and Ottinger and some of the other drivers, you can see DeYoung is not going to get him. So Zielinski slides in right in the middle of those lead 2 cars.
That was a huge break for the 83 not to get cycled behind the 23. Now he has the clean tires, the new tires. Can he make them work? But you see the traffic up ahead. It's not just lead lap cars. It's other cars that have yet to come to pit road. And you see a big slide by the 83. The right side's in the grass. Now he'll be under attack by the 23.
Overcooked it a little bit on the exit that time. He did keep the left side tires on the road, though. Otherwise, he could be given a penalty in iRacing. If you do cut a corner with all 4 tires, you may be given a slowdown penalty where you need to slow down from race pace for X amount of time to give up an advantage. Kept the left side tires on the road. No penalty. This battle continues for what will become second. Right now, it's a battle for 10th and 11th, but up the road, a lot of pitters. Ottinger, Clampett, Luza, Mullis, Conti, Bryant, all diving down pit road, and that leaves us with maybe just a half a dozen cars yet to pit. It includes the race leader right now, Ashton Crowder, and Matt Busa, who has cycled into the number 2 spot. But again, Bolin, the net race leader, ahead of the battle right here between Bobby Zielinski and Mitchell DeYoung.
Zielinski was about a half a second behind Bolin before the pit cycle started. Currently, even though it's for 3rd and 4th respectively, he's 1.5 seconds behind. So about a second back. Didn't hurt him as bad as I thought. Kept his track position relative to everyone else. We'll see now, can he kind of find a way to go on the offensive and run the 10 back down?
Just at the top of your screen, Mitchell DeYoung just put down the new fastest lap of the race. So some impressive stuff for him. And you can see him left-hand side. He has the fastest lap of the afternoon. So he is highlighted in purple on your scoring pylon left-hand side of your screen. Again, they are 3, 4, and 5 now. But Crowder and Busa have yet to pit. You can see they're only some 9 seconds up the road. The pit road delta is about 37, 38 seconds. Plus, you're losing a bit of time slowing down and getting back up to speed. So when Crowder pits, and you can see right there, Matt Busa just pit, so he's going to drop all the way down the pylon. Once Crowder pits, Graham Bolin will go back to the race lead in this one, and Mount Bobby Zelensky puts himself to the top of the board. Look at this exchange, though. Down into turn 1, the battle for 13th position. Keegan Leahy trying to shake off Vincent, Cook, and Duval. A lot of these drivers have been making big moves, but still some drivers in the mid-pack here yet to pit. So I think that's adding to a bit of the congestion, Steve. The fact you got some faster cars and some slower cars, and you can see that 6th Lion trying to stay out the way that time.
Yeah, this is a very hairy time for all of these leaders to try to find their way while racing other cars, working their way through traffic. A monster lap put down by Zelensky. You see his name highlighted in purple. The fastest lap of the day by almost 3/10 of a second as we ride on board right now with the number 3 of Vincent.
The Coca-Cola onboard camera on board with the number 3 machine of Corey Vincent. Started this race in 12th position. He is currently exactly there. Let's take a lap. I mean, he looks calm, cool, and collected. That's just another day at the office for Corey Vincent, and you can see it in the driving, Steve, really the back half of the track, right? Through the bus stop, through the carousel in turn 5, that to be fast in a cup car here almost requires you to drive a little bit slow. And it sounds funny to say that, but that's what some of the best guys on the sim will tell you, is if you are pushing that car hard, if you're driving like Brad Keselowski to Marcos Ambrose, where every single lap, you're not going to be fast. You're going to be tearing up the equipment. When you back it up and you take it easy is really how you can be consistent. And you can hear how kind of cautious, maybe the right word, he was there on that onboard lap.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we call it the speedway because each of these corners are connected right here. The carousel, long, sweeping corner. But when you exit the carousel, just look how long this straightaway is. So by underdriving or driving well in control on the carousel, you get a nice run down this very long straightaway. If you overdrive the corner, you start missing your marks, then it's going to pay a negative down these very long straightaways. As we see this battle for currently second really heating up, although we know Crowder up the road a little bit, still has to come to pit road.
This will give the race lead. Once he gets there, Bolin's going to take over the top spot. If Ashton Crowder could be given magically extra fuel, it's not going to matter because the better tires for Bolin and Zelensky mean they're probably going to catch him before he pits anyways. The battle for P2 here is the battle for the win. So much on the line for Graham Bolin. A race win would put him in to a playoff spot and basically lock him in because he's second in the overall points and normal point standings, the tiebreaker on the wins. I talked about the hardware, though. Look at both of those drivers on the bottom half, Steve. That's not a NASCAR stock car wheel, right? They're both using that open wheel formula rim. You got the paddle shifters. Again, you can't just do that when you bring a NASCAR Cup car to Watkins Glen in real life, but on the sim, I think you can take some of the challenge out of it and try to make the driving experience more comfortable.
Yeah, and it's working for both of them. You know, they obviously, and let's look how relaxed they are. I mean, Bolin hand off the wheel going down the straightaway. So, you know, both drivers very relaxed as they're running these laps. Although I will say, Zelensky looks a little less relaxed. Now, this is the run, right? Off from pit road, he lost a little bit of time, but he's gained it back. He's run the lead down to 0.4 of a second. I think he knows that this is kind of his opportunity with 23 to go back and put the pressure on Bolin, make him run the clean race.
Yeah, Bobby always looks like he's driving angry, and I think that's his determined face. But this is twofold for him, right? We talked about how he had been the road course guy. Mitchell DeYoung kind of dethroning him in that regard this year. So Bobby would love to get back into road course victory lane to prove a point. But second most is, we talk about how if Graham Boland wins this race, it puts him in a playoff spot. The driver that would get bumped is Bobby's teammate. So the 83 really has a lot to race for here, even if it doesn't affect him, right? Already a race winner at Pocono this year. He's in the playoffs no matter what. So there's a lot for the 83 to race for outside of just himself. There's some lap traffic up the road that they're going to have to deal with here. It looks like Derek Justice will pull out of the way. There's him. Boland late dive to the inside on Crowder. A little bit tricky there, and I don't think either driver benefited or got hurt by it. The gap remains about a car length and a half, maybe two.
Yeah, but there is a benefit for Zielinski. Remind the folks at home, right? This team championship is the combination of the two drivers' efforts. So it's in Zielinski's best effort to try to keep Sherbert in the playoffs, to try to move him up in the points. He could do that by trying to pass this 10 car.
And now a little bit of cleaner racetrack to work with. Zielinski, once upon a time, early in this race, when he started third, remember he made an opening lap pass on Mitchell DeYoung, who has been kind of fourth place ever since then, has been, I think, better than Boland to the tune of, thousandths or hundredths of a second per lap. When they first got to 1-2, the gap was about 2.5 seconds. And it has consistently over the course of this race been chipped away at to the point where right now it is just 0.2 of a second. So if we're doing time trials, I think Bobby Zielinski is the faster of these two cars now, but being faster by somebody than 100th of a second, very different than having enough speed to pass him. So that's going to be fun to watch it on. Michael Conti talked about earlier how he was one of the big movers in this race. He is the second biggest mover of the afternoon, plus 10 positions after he started 21st, but he's up at 11th right now, trying to chase down Corey Vincent. The only other driver that has gained more positions than him is Nathan Lyon, who has gone from 33rd to 19th. So in this mid-pack here, looks a lot like the top 10 did in the first half of this race.
Yeah, and it's an impressive run by Conti. I mean, we know how hard it is to get positions, and he has really just been very patient and picked them off one at a time. I haven't really seen him put the car in a bad position really all day long, which is what you have to do, right? You have to just find a way. It's at the bottom of the screen there. You have to find a way to just not put your car in a bad position. But on the top of the screen, I agree with you. I think Zielinski has gone from equal lap times to better lap times. He is definitely not just hanging back anymore. He is right there, one slip of a wheel out of Boland in the 10 car, and he will be passed for the lead.
And something else I just noticed on your scoring pylon right after I mentioned that Mitchell DeYoung's kind of been stuck fourth all night. He has finally passed Steven Wilson. So Wilson drops to fourth. DeYoung is up to third. I do think, though, it is a tall order to make up the 2.6 second difference to the race leaders, this time by 20 laps to go. He needs pretty consistently about a 10th and change every single lap if he wants to get up there. Just not sure he's going to be that much better than these two. However, I referenced some of the good Watkins Glen battles over the years, the Brad Keselowski, Marcos Ambrose finishes, and so many other great ones we've seen here over the years with the NASCAR Cup Series. If the top two start fighting with each other, then maybe that opens up the door for Mitchell DeYoung. But still all business for first and second position. You can kind of see when they hit the straightaways, they'll take an opportunity to stretch, to talk to their crew. But some drivers certainly a lot more chattier than others, Steve, and I'm sure that applies in the real world as well when it comes to being on the radio.
It absolutely does. It's funny, you continue to call out some of the great clean battles we saw. Nobody talks about the Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch battle that ended up with Kyle Busch backwards up the S's. And that's the point you're making, right? How long will Bobby Zielinski be patient? We saw the last time into this left-hander a very late braking move. As we ride on board, we see consistently he's deeper in the braking zones. If he can stay within a car length at the end of this front stretch, I expect him to pull out a line to try to outbrake the leader. Oh, he gets a very good run. Will the 10 stay in contact? Ooh, the 10 maybe just pulls away just enough to take him out of touch for Zielinski.
Last lap, a 1:11.742 for Boland. It was a 6:29 for Bobby Zielinski. That was the fastest lap out of anybody on the racetrack. in favor of the number 83 machine of Bobby Zelensky in P2. You can see DeYoung has brought that gap down a little bit from third. It was at 2.4 for a second. It continues to hover at about 2.5, 2.6. Just don't count out DeYoung and Wilson and Ottinger. They are not far back in case we get another one of those classic Watkins Glen finishes. But as Bolin and Zelensky continue to battle for the race lead inside of 20 laps to go in this second last race of this regular season for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, huge shifts in the championship hang in the balance for the outcome of these first and second spots. And if you're late tuning in, 50-lap race here at Watkins Glen, meaning one pit stop. That's all that's necessary. So everybody in the field, besides Nathan Lyon, has already come down to the pit lane. They are set and good to go to the end of this race. But let's dial up John Gorlinski on the radio. Steve, the 16 machine out of this race early, unfortunately.
Yeah, John, not the time that we wanted to talk to you in the middle of the race right here, but tell us what happened early in this race for you.
Oh, I started myself off in a pretty big hole with a patented terrible qualifying lap, and I was working my way up through. Usually at these road courses, you want to pit early, get fresh tires, and try to make as much hay as you can on competition. And I was doing that, but tires are cold after the pit stops, and my brain forgot that, and I binned it on my outlap like an idiot.
Well, as we watch this battle between the 83 and the 10, take us into just how impressive of a performance this is by Bolin to have the 83 2-3 car lengths back every corner. How frustrating or how much concentration does it take to keep that lead and not overdrive one of those corners?
I mean, I gotta tell you, Steve, it's tough. I'm an old guy at this point, and back in the day, I consider myself pretty good at road courses, and to have somebody, especially like Bobby, who's obviously one of the best, breathing down your neck like that, that's pretty nerve-wracking. So if Graham can hang on for another 17 laps or so, I'll be pretty dang impressed.
Well, John, hate it didn't work out for you here. Appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Better luck in Michigan.
Thank you.
Well, there you go, Evan. I had to ask a guy who was in the sim, right? Because in my mind, I'm checking my mirror. I'm overdriving corners. I'm making mistakes. The qualifying lap from Bolin to sit on the pole was one thing. If he can pull this off for 17 more laps, this might be, actually, I think this has to be the most contested road course race we have seen in the last 5 or 6 years.
He is all over him. I mean, he is going to have to work really hard. And you talk about Graham Bolin as well, making his 33rd career start in this series. He's looking for not only a race win that would put him into the postseason here this afternoon, Steve, but let alone looking for his first win in this series. He's got the title sponsor for the Cup Series race here at Watkins Glen on board his virtual number 10 Ford. The spotlight is on him, and typically, I'd think, somebody with a little bit less experience, they're going to be feeling the pressure. He has handled it so very well, but I know we said off at the top that this race is a bit of a sprint. 16 laps to go. It's going to feel like the longest 16 laps of his life. And a handful of battles, not only for the race lead. On the bottom, we continue to watch the battle for P6. Garrett Maines has been able to get around Logan to clamp it, trying to get back on him. And don't look now, but kind of further on back, Michael Conti has broken into the top 10 after starting in the 20s. So these races without yellows at these road courses really allow drivers, if they miss the mark in Q, to make up for that with a good race car.
Yeah, we've focused so much on the lead because it's been 1 or 2 car lengths, but you mentioned it. Great battles throughout the entire top 10, top 12. And as I look at timing and scoring, there's even some tight battles back inside the top 20. So position still to be decided with 16 laps to go as we see the 83 continues to put the pressure on. Now he's going to take a look. I think we talked about the air and the dirty air hurting the trailing car. I think that's a situation with the 83. A little quicker, but he just lacks that downforce in the middle of the corner to get enough turn to get the corner exit speed that he needs. See if he tries to offset his car a little bit. There's just no room. The 10 does such a nice job getting right to the curb, shutting that air off.
And that's why he's kind of parked the bus at about a 2-car length difference. Again, in the braking zone, he closes in a little bit, but then off of the corner, Bolin's going to be better. And I just have to wonder, if you're Zelensky, where can you find enough? Again, time trials, you're faster, but 1/100th of a second a lap does not give you the speed you need getting down into a corner, getting off of a corner to execute a pass on a guy like Bolin, who has been picture perfect so far tonight. He has not put a tire wrong in the 36 laps that we've done thus far. More battling on the bottom. Corey Vincent is the bubble driver of those in the top 10, but Keegan Leahy's right there, Ryan Luza, Dylan Duval, some of the other guys are trying to work their way and not letting him get away with this one. Again, we haven't seen huge swings. Conti's still the biggest mover to plus 12. Normally, in an oval race, you probably got somebody plus 20-something for the back of the field, but it seems like, for the most part, qualifying was a pretty good indicator of speed overall. Your top 5 who started are the top 5 right now, and Graham Bolin has been in control, but still hotly contested by Bobby Zalenski with 14 laps to go from Watkins Glen and a playoff berth hanging in the balance. You're watching round 13 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
I am the regular season coming to a close. And what happened left eyes wide open with displays of dominance, long shot surprises, and tracks that turned veterans into rookies. I am still not done. In fact, I'm saving the best for last and a playoff spot for anyone that wants it bad enough. I am NASCAR.
It doesn't matter where you're from, who you grew up rooting for, what you grew up watching, your home track, your favorite car, the series you've always wanted to race in. When you're ready to know what it's like, we're here, bringing you as close to the action as it gets with the ultimate sim racing experience. With a community of hundreds of thousands just like you. This is iRacing, and here, every day is race day.
Continuing coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Asus, the official gaming hardware partner of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And by Logitech G and the Logitech G923, the official wheel and pedal of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Knocking on the door of 10 laps to go in the Watkins Glen 50, second to last race of the regular season of this 2020. Huge championship implications at the front of the field. Pole sitter Graham Bolin has dominated this race, but he has been constantly pressured by Bobby Zalenski. The gap has opened up just a little bit to 4 car lengths, but I don't think that is anywhere near enough of a gap steam for that number 10 machine to breathe a sigh of relief when you've got one of the best all-time on-the-road courses breathing down your neck like he has all night long.
Yeah, no chance to rest at all. You have to go back to green flag pit stops and ask yourself, you know, could the 83 have pitted a lap earlier? Could he have found a way by when the tires were fresher? Because remember, when he exited pit road, he was almost passed by the 23 of De Jong, but instead, he just stayed in front of Mitchell, and he ran Bolin down from about a second and a half back. But once he gets to that 3 or 4/10 of a second back, it's like he just can't do anything with the driver of the 10. Maybe he just needs to step back for a couple laps, cool his equipment, and make one more attack here with about 10 to go.
Fastest car the last couple laps, though, Mitchell De Jong in third. Let's ride with the Logitech G onboard camera. working hard from third as he continues to try to chase down the top two. And happy to welcome Logitech G as an official partner of eNASCAR. I know that 10 of 11 time or won on a Logitech wheel. So happy to have them as a part of the series here with us on Tuesday evenings. And look at that gap, 1.2 the last time through. I mean, it was 2.6 kind of last time you really looked at it. And like I said, I'm not sure Mitchell can do it on his own. 9 laps to go. But if Zelensky can just break that bubble, get back to the bumper to Bolin like he was about 5 laps ago, if they get side by side for any semblance of time, I mean, it is so easy to burn a 1.5 seconds on your lap time, Steve, if you're side by side with somebody. So that's why you can see Mitchell locked in. He is not giving up on this race.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it doesn't take long at all if you have a battle. And the question is, can you find a clean battle around here? We saw contested positions early, and that was on the lap 1 or 2 of the race. Now we have under 10 laps to go. So any sort of position, any sort of overbreaking of one another is going to be contested.
There's a lap comparison compared to your race leader. You can see the difference is Mitchell DeYoung up to the top spot, right in that same wheelhouse, all at about a 6/100th, 8/100th, 7/100th of a second range. The difference in the lap times. I did see up the road as well. There's a little bit of lap traffic, but I don't see any immediate battles. And it's easy enough, or at least it should be easy enough, to get around a single piece of lap traffic. It's when they're fighting for position, which further complicates things, as Mitchell DeYoung sporting the chrome roof number on a board. A bit of a throwback. You can see that a lot more in the Cup Series, and there's a good look from high above Watkins Glen. You can see the clouds actually reflected off of the chrome number 23 machine for 2311 racing, running in third position. Last lap, the interval was 1.5 seconds. If you're wondering what the purple highlight is on Bobby Zelensky on your timing and scoring pylon, that means he has the fastest lap of the race. Of course, that happened after the pit cycle. A 1:10.401 was his best lap in race trim. That's kind of notable, Steve, because that was 4/10 slower than what pole time eventually was. So obviously they were a lot more trimmed out when they went in that single car qualifying session a little bit earlier on. But I mean, this is really it. I thought that Mitchell DeYoung, Bobby Zelensky, these other guys had a really good look on Graham coming out of the pit cycle, but you're right, he's been stuck at that 4/10 of a second. I mean, he hasn't made much progress in the last 3 to 4 laps. I wonder if he's saving at this point or if he's really starting to struggle. Remember how early these guys pitted, right? We thought, you see pit stops at about lap 25 in a 50-lap race. They all came in closer to 20. So they're on 23, 24 lap-old tires, on the oldest tires they've been on all night. So therefore, the cars are handling probably the worst they've been handling all race long.
Yeah, and if you've been in the position of the 83 with less downforce running in the dirty air of the 10, your car is going to slide around more. It's definitely going to make the tires degrade more. And now I think the 83 needs to be a little bit of concern about losing second position as Mitchell continues to run faster laps. That last lap back in the 1:11 second bracket, just under the 1:12s. That is the fastest lap we've seen out of any of these leaders in at least the last 10. And you can see it on track as he's now right off the rear bumper of the number 83.
He was the only car on track to get down into a 1:11 range on the last lap. So Mitchell DeYoung certainly pushing. I talked about the factor of lap traffic. Well, that was Malik Ray making sure that he was not going to be a factor in this one. Gets his Steel Series Ford out of the way for Space Station Gaming and allows your race leaders to drive on by. But for the first time in a long time, first, second, and third are now all within 1 second of each other, as DeYoung, again, as the fastest car on track now, is right there. And if I'm Bobby Zelensky, he may be having to worry about going on defense before he worries about getting back up to Bolin, because that is a charging number 23 Toyota.
But now, can the 23 do anything with the 83 of Zelensky? We have seen this. Catching is one thing, passing is another. The 83 was able to run the 10 down, was not able to do anything with him. Now the 23 is faster than the 83 and has been lap after lap. Now he's there. Now he's in the dirty air. So right here's where you're going to see it. This transition from the bus stop to the carousel. The car's going to want to slide out to the left a little bit, lose the nose of that race car. Will he be able to keep nice and tidy around the curb as well as he was?
Brandon Bolin continues to pull away from the car in second position, and You're right. Let's see if Mitchell DeYoung can kind of knock this out. I feel like if it takes him a handful of laps, he might just get stuck, much like that number 83 machine did. So your race leader, followed by Bobby Zalenski, followed by Mitchell DeYoung, and here is all the perspectives. You're on board with your P2 runner in the bottom left, on board with the bottom right in third, and that'll be a move to second for Mitchell DeYoung. He will drive his way through. Zalenski got a little bit loose off of the corner, but I wonder if this is strategic by Zalenski. We talked about that, yeah, Zalenski wants to win the race, Steve, but the overarching thing is that Bobby Zalenski really wanted to win the race to prevent Graham Bolin from winning. And he moved out of the way. Maybe that was an admission by Zalenski. Hey, I can't get it. I want you to go get him so my teammate can stay in the postseason.
Well, you know, as the owner of the 83 and the 36, I'm impressed with the move. Let the 23 go. Don't, first of all, take each other out. It's obvious he's faster. He ran you down from a second back. The best chance for the 83 to win the race is to let the 23 go up and battle the 10. Maybe they'll make a mistake, and that's also the best way for him to try to protect his teammate, the 36 of Chris Sherburne, and try to keep him in the playoffs.
Good heads-up stuff. As far as the difference on tires, it's actually an advantage in favor of Graham Bolin. Bolin has 1 lap newer tires than Mitchell DeYoung, so it's not like he's got all this late race speed because he got tires later. He may have just done a better job conserving. And of course, you can suspect with Zalenski and Bolin having run within a car length or two of each other for so long that they were likely pushing really hard. And out of nowhere, Mitchell DeYoung had a bad start. Remember, he was on the outside of row number 1 on the start of this race. He was P6 by the time lap number 1 was done. He has driven his way all the way back up to second spot. He is within now 0.3 of a second of Graham Bolin for the race lead. This, if he can pull it off, would almost be more impressive than the dominant race wins he's had because, to be honest, for much of this night, he was out of the picture.
Yeah, and if Graham Bolin can hold off, first it was Zalenski and now Mitchell, this will be one of the most impressive first victories we've seen, but it is going to be very difficult as Mitchell gets a great run out of the carousel. He's been very good under braking. We'll see if he'll make a move. He looks left, he pulls back in line. Coming to 3 to go, he knows he still has time. He'll follow the 10 car through the left-hander, now back to the right-hander, trying to time a run down the front stretch.
Zalenski falls off. He's now more than a second off of the battle. It'll come down to Graham Bolin or Mitchell DeYoung. 3 laps to go from Watkins Glen. Mitchell DeYoung, the only multi-time winner in 2021, looking to go 3 for 3 on the road courses, but he lost a little bit that time out of 1. He closed on the entry, Bolin pulled on the exit, and that's what the 10 car's been trying to do all night long in these fights.
We'll see if the near-perfect race of Graham Bolin can continue. 3 laps to go, and it's going to take perfect to hold off the 23.
Looking to the inside in the bus stop, but he holds his ground. Mitchell DeYoung on the bumper of Bolin. He slides through the bus stop, gives a shot to the back of the number 10 machine. Graham Bolin under fire inside of 3 laps to go. He gets a critical run through the carousel, though, that should allow him to protect as he heads off now to the left-hander in turn number 6. We have seen last lap bump and runs for the win in this series here at Watkins Glen, and this time by only 2 laps to go. DeYoung still within a car length.
DeYoung can get to the rear bumper, but can he make the pass, or will there be contact? As he heads down into turn 1, very difficult corner, gets right to the rear bumper of the 10, now across the little short chute into turn 2 and climb the S's. I think this is where Mitchell needs to make his run. He's so good through the S's. He can gain some momentum here. Can he make a run in the backstretch, although he's lost 2 or 3 car lengths?
Graham Bolin in his 33rd career start in this series, competing in his 2nd year in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, looking for his first career win, looking for a ticket to the playoffs. And behind him is a world champion road course racer on the iRacing service. DeYoung may be a rookie in eNASCAR, but he is one of the most decorated road racers on the iRacing service. And this has overall been a really good lap for Graham Bolin. He was on his bumper at the end of the last lap. He's held it at about 2 car lengths this time through. but Mitchell DeYoung is within striking distance, and no pun intended, as Graham Bolin brings the GoBowling.com Ford off of turn number 7. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go from Watkins Glen.
Bolin was 3rd at the Circuit of Americas, 4th at Road America. He's proven he has pace at the road courses, but has not had the pace to match Mitchell DeYoung. But today, he sits on the pole. He leads almost the entire race other than the pit cycle. Now he's about 2/3 of a lap away from his first ever win.
And it seems like turn 1 better for Bolin than it has been for DeYoung. Mitchell's going to close it into the bus stop, one of his last heavy braking opportunities. Mitchell looks high, tries to go for the undercut. They touch, he'll move Bolin out of the way. 1 shot, 2 shots, he still hangs on. Second to last corner, here comes Mitchell DeYoung. Looks high, looks low. Bolin parks it in the middle. The defensive line to the second to last corner. Mitchell DeYoung on the doorstep. Looks high. Bolin to the inside. Side by side. Last corner they touch. DeYoung is in the tires. And Graham Bolin, an eNASCAR winner at Watkins Glen. It doesn't take a lip reader to know that that is one excited driver. Last corner, Mitchell DeYoung set it up. Steve, to his credit, he gave Bolin a couple of shots, but he didn't just wreck him. Moved him out of the way. They fought back, and it came all the way down to the last corner.
That is what you call as clean and hard a racing as you could possibly have. I thought that DeYoung gave him the shot where he needed to, let him collect it back. I thought Bolin drove an amazing race, but a great, even more impressive final lap and final 2 corners, driving defensive. You can't do that for 5 laps. You can absolutely do that for the last lap for your first win. That is well within the rights of any driver. An impressive drive, start to finish, by the driver of the number 10 out of Stewart-Haas Racing. 3 top 5s now at the road courses, but this one's sweeter than the first 2. This one will take him to victory lane.
It's a popular win. The congratulations roll in from his fellow competitors. Again, it is start at number 33. That is the magic number for Graham Bolin. He gets his first career win in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. It is the 58th different winner all-time in series history. He'll celebrate on the front straightaway. Barney the flagman still waving the checkered. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And as you mentioned a little bit earlier, Steve, arguably maybe one of the best first-time wins we have ever seen in the clutch, with one of the best ever on a road course on your bumper. And he will punch his ticket to the 2021 playoffs. And how about now 12 different race winners in 13 weeks?
It's been an amazing regular season. We still have a week to go, but you said it at the top of the show. When you look at the points, forget the wins. Graham Bolin was the guy that stood out. The highest in points without a win. He's had a great season, a very consistent season. I mean, he's second in points. It would be a shame for him to miss the playoffs. He will not be missing the playoffs now. This win will go ahead and advance him into the playoffs, and you never know where this momentum will carry him.
He is locked. Let's take a look at the Coca-Cola move of the race. It is the entire final lap here from Watkins Glen. And again, out of turn 1 and through the S's, he was better. But I think right here on the exit of the S's, DeYoung got a little bit back. Left-hander in 3, right-hander turn 4 here, and you'll see this gap shrink as they head into the bus stop. And it was probably the best bus stop of anybody we've seen all night by DeYoung on this final lap. He goes from 4 car lengths back to on the bumper, and you'll see the bits of contact right here, Steve.
Yeah, and then out of the bus stop and into the carousel. The 10 protects, runs the bottom. The 23 has no choice. One little shot here. Gives him one more shot, but the 10 does a nice job of not opening the door, and then a nice block continues up the racetrack. And then right here, keeping the defensive bottom line, that right there could have been the move. I think if the 23 would have got to the inside, it would have been a difference maker. And then the 10 takes the inside line away, forces the 23 to the outside, and at that point, you knew it was going to be over.
Very, very reminiscent to the iconic finish from 2016 here when we saw PJ Sturgis and Michael Conti touch in the final corner of the lap. And this time it is Graham Bolin. He is a winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, Steve. And you are on the radio with our latest driver in the playoffs.
Graham Bolin with Go Bowling on the hood, man, pole sitter, and perhaps the most pressure-packed 50 laps I have seen at a road course. At no point did you have more than a 1-second lead. First of all, congratulations. What's it feel to go to victory lane?
I mean, it feels awesome. Like all the hard work going into this, and I'm like sweating out here. So it was a really hard race. Like the pressure was on all race. I couldn't really like set my pace because I didn't want someone just to get around on me and try to dive it up the inside. The first lap was crazy. I didn't expect it to be that low grip into one, and then I was just defensive driving after that the whole first lap. But I just want a huge shout out to Go Bowling and Smithfield and everybody on SHR Esports. So yeah.
Well, the 10 Cup car got the win at New Hampshire a few weeks ago. You go to victory lane here at Watkins Glen. It was lap after lap, corner after corner. You had to defend against Bobby Zielinski. And then in the closing laps, Mitchell gets by the 83. He's the guy that's won the other 2 races. What was it like that last lap heading into turn 1 with Mitchell in your mirror?
It was crazy because he was 3/10 faster than us. Like Bobby was pouring the pressure on, so I had to push more and I kind of killed my tires a little bit. But like it was just crazy. He was like he flipped the switch the last run, and then yeah, I can't believe I held him off. Like it was a little dirty at a last corner, but I'm not gonna take a chance and get side drafted on the straightaway. So yeah.
Oh no, first win, it looked great. But listen, with the win come the accolades, and the accolades for you will be a seat at the table in the playoffs in a few weeks. What's it feel now to know you'll have a chance to race for a championship?
It's amazing. Like we work all year to make the playoffs, and with it being one in you're in, it kind of put me in a pressure situation. So I just tried to. I usually perform under pressure, or pretty good, or better than no pressure. So I'm just glad that we secured the win and we're in the playoffs with SHR and Go Bowling and Smithfield. So.
Well, you're right. Perform under pressure. You did for 50 laps, every single corner. It started with a pole. It ended with a win. Graham, congratulations on your first win in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series.
Thank you.
Great stuff, Evan. It's always exciting to see a winner, but for everyone who wins, someone has to come up close. Let's check in with the second place finisher, Bobby 83. Bobby, you had a great run. Oh, there he is. I was waiting to see him in there. Bobby, you had a great run. You put the pressure on the driver of the 10. Before we talk about your race, how impressive was Graham all race long? You never gave him a chance to breathe, yet he never seemed to make a mistake.
Yeah, that was the point, especially after the pit stop. We had the lap pressure tires, which isn't huge here, but it's nice. And I was just using everything I could to try to get some opportunity, but Watkins Glen's not the best place for passing, and when you're stuck a couple tenths away from them in the draft and the dirty air, I mean, hey man, why you gotta be so perfect and make dirty air iRacing? I want clean air behind a car. I would have been able to do a little bit more with that. A little bit of dirty air that just hurt in that last corner before the end of the lap, and yeah, I just couldn't quite get close. I guess the closest we got was lap 1. And yeah, I used my stuff up trying to get to him, and I was still maintaining, but Mitchell saved his tires pretty good, and I gave him a shot at it. I was like, hey, man, you go get him. And, yeah, they almost wrecked each other. So.
Well, tell us about that shot, right? We saw it, right? Mitchell saved his tires. He made a run. You let him go. It was obviously he was faster, but then that last lap, contact in the carousel, defensive into the left-hander, and then contact again in the right-hander. Was there a moment there you thought they might take each other out and it could fall in your lap?
Yeah, for sure, because Graham, hit him kind of with the left rear of his car. Which, I mean, I don't blame him. You got to wall the guy for a playoff spot. But, he could have hooked himself as well. Just it could have caught wrong. And then he goes head onto the wall, and they kind of get stuck there. And maybe I get into it too. But, yeah, I mean, after I let Mitchell go, I was just kind of chilling and waiting for a potential opening. Obviously, I wanted Mitchell to win that because it would help my teammate Chris out for playoff spot. But, damn it, Steve, going into this year, I thought I'd at least get one road course win, but didn't get any.
No wins, but you do have that win at Pocono, and for that reason, you will be heading into the playoffs. Another great road course run. Congratulations on your second.
Yep, ovals are what matters at the end of the day anyway in NASCAR, right? Got to win the ovals. Road courses are just a little sugar for me. But yeah, I got to thank you, Steve, having me on the team. Virtual Race School in the cars, of course. Direct Force Pro pedals. I was on them for the first time at a road course tonight. They were really nice. And good job to Graham. I mean, he held strong.
All right, well, there's your second place finisher, Bobby Zielinski, doing a nice job running inside the top 3 and 4 all race long. The other driver, though, that was in the highlight reel at the finish, no surprise. The man is Mr. Road Course this year, a multiple road course winner. Came a little bit short tonight, but it was a great battle to the last lap. Mitchell, first of all, take us down to let's go all the way back to the first lap. Front row to 6, up through the S's. We know how dangerous Watkins Glen can be. How much did you have to take a deep breath and settle back in to recapture those spots?
It was a rough first lap, wasn't it? Just a few mistakes. Kind of going into this event, I knew that it was kind of a game of just who's not going to make a mistake. As you guys have seen, the times are so close here. And everyone's done a really good job, put a lot of prep in, it seems. And, kind of started with qualifying, just didn't really get it right. Crashed in my first lap, actually, going into turn 1. And I think I happened to be caught out by the extra pace lap, maybe the cold tires or something, but seemingly broke way too late for those conditions. And just kind of like you said, take a deep breath and just kind of, recover the best we can and go from there. I was really stoked the couple laps after that we were able to get back into 4th. That was really crazy. It was some hectic moves, and we tried to make a run at back of the front too, but wasn't really too comfortable with the balance. Ended up kind of hurting my tires, just overdriving a bit, and decided to go for that wild strategy, and it seemed to work out. We didn't really have the best tires, but man, I tell you what, that was probably one of the most fun runs I've had in like anything on iRacing. Like that second run, knowing that you're at a tire disadvantage and having to save a little bit to try to make a run at the end was crazy. And like the battle we had, it was really down to the wire. And obviously it didn't really work out. We made a really good attempt at getting it at the end, but Graham did a great job, held strong, and honestly, even though it was 3rd and we were kind of close at getting the win there, I still had so much fun. Good point stay, and that's kind of what it's all about.
Well, congratulations on your 3rd, and thank you from us, the fans, from everybody. It was a great battle. We watched you run them down, and what a spectacular final lap you put on, making a run for the chance to go to victory lane.
Thanks, man.
Evan, it was a blast. I had a great time. Hard to believe we can have no cautions, run 50 laps, and the gap under 1 second for the top 3 cars.
Super impressive stuff. And the way that some of these races have been dominated, I think the fact that the top 5 were all within 8 seconds too, is to Graham, Bobby, to Mitchell for chatting with us. Those are your top 3 finishers. They get this one ahead of Steven Wilson and Nick Ottinger. Logan Clampett finishes tonight P6. Garrett Maines was 7th. Vicente Salas in 8th. Michael Conti all the way up to P9. And then Corey Vincent with a top 10.
As you go a little bit deeper in the field, you see Keegan Leahy back there in 11th, Luza in 12th, Duvall 14th, Garrett Lowe back in 17th, Ashton Crowder in 19th. Zach Novak ended up inside the top 20, and then we go a little bit farther back. That battle between Ray Alfala and Chris Sherburne for what we thought was the final playoff spot in the end didn't come to fruition because we had that new winner, as you mentioned, Evan. So both Alfala and Sherburne both out of the playoffs.
Ryan Doucette and others with a blade with the final drivers to finish on the lead lap in this one. Not the best of nights for Malik Gray, Zach Nichols, Derek Justice, Brian Schoenberger, Nathan Lyon, but premature endings for the likes of Jacob Matheson and John Grulinski. Look top to bottom at your full race results. So we look forward now, 13 races down, 1 race to go before we go playoff racing, Steve, and we head to Michigan International Speedway. It's not Daytona like it is in the Cup Series, but it will have the same amount of drama. We can still see new winners bump people out. We can see drivers who are on that cut line have a bad race, get bumped out. A lot to be decided in the regular season finale in 2 weeks.
Yeah, when you look at Ryan Luza or Logan Clampett, a couple of those guys that have wins and they're safely inside the top 20, they're near the back of that playoff field. So a new winner and a bad run, and that could eliminate them from the playoffs. It's going to be a nail biter at Michigan without a doubt. And you mentioned it, it may not be Daytona, but in the sim with this aero package, it races like Daytona. It's going to be 2 and 3 wide all day.
It's another unique challenge, right? We said that there were a lot of drivers who are top 10 in normal points that without a win or not. And it's a unique track, right? There is no track exactly like Michigan that we've been to this year. There isn't one that'll be in the playoffs. So a unique track that may fit a niche for a driver. But, I mean, they're going to lay it all on the line, right? There's been a lot of points racing. The end-all, be-all, the cure to all your troubles is a win. So we may see some Daytona-esque moves to try to get the job done there at Michigan.
And I'll add to that, we talk a lot about the playoffs because that's every driver's goal. But perhaps before the playoffs, even if the win doesn't get you in the playoffs, everyone races to win. So even those drivers that don't have a chance, right? This is still a chance to win a trophy. It might not advance them to the playoffs, but we saw a year ago, Chris Sherman won the final race of the year outside the playoffs. It made his entire season. What other driver can go to Michigan and win a race? It may not be a playoff berth, but it's a win in the premier esports stock car series around. We saw how tough it was today at Watkins Glen. It's going to be just as difficult at Michigan, but pack racing and stress racing.
And of course, if you're not in the playoffs, you still want to fight for your life in this series. And that could be the next challenge, is staying in this series by being in the top 20 in points at the end of it. Of course, if you want all the latest information on this series, schedule, standings, information, and more, especially as we get close to chasing down a championship, you can go to iRacing.com/eNASCAR for all of that information. Till next time, though, that's it for us here tonight from Watkins Glen. Steve, I want to thank you so much for being a part of this one. Excited to have you on the call for the rest of these as well, as we race towards crowning a champion here in 2021. Till next time, though, on behalf of our entire team here at iRacing and NASCAR, for everybody behind the scenes and for your broadcast team tonight. For Tim Terry on pit road, for Steve Letarte and myself, Evan Pasocco, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Graham Boland, the 58th different winner in eNASCAR all time. We're back in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday, August the 17th from Michigan International Speedway for the Logitech G Challenge 100. That race and every race of the 2021 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively here on the iRacing Esports Network. Till next time, good night from Watkins Glen, New York, where Graham Boland threw a strike and is in the playoffs in 2021.